Hi James, it's James at Reedish Motorsport. Thanks for bringing your M3 in today for its Inspection 2 service. It includes is a comprehensive vehicle inspection, which is when we look at the underside and the mechanical items of the vehicle in great detail and let you know if there's any faults that are currently present or anything that's likely to come up in the near future. And if there is, we will give you those infos on an advisory report. But rather than just reading that report, you're also able to watch this video and see the items that we're referring to. So we're going to start with the items, what we call the drive-in items. So the first items on the list are what we call drive-in checks as we bring the car into the workshop to place onto the lift. First thing is the headlight bulb warning on the dash for both front lights, but they are all functioning. There's no record of a coolant change in the service book. The offside front aperture seal is split, which is quite common. I've got this on my M3 as well. The glue just goes soft in the sun. The fuel filler cap seal is split and the cord is missing. So the seal that's split is that black O-ring around there, and the cord should be going from the end to that piece over there. There's no tyre sealant in the boot because there's an amplifier in there, and the boot alignment shows signs of movement. So up here we've got some different markings where the paint is now not covered. Also, the no bumps boot lid bump stops fitted in here and here should be rubber blocks. Non-genuine tail lights fitted. That's just information only. You don't need to necessarily do anything with these. It's just a record of the car's condition at the moment. The first aid kit is out of date, which is in the passenger side front of the seat, and also at the front there's a non-genuine bonnet grills, and one of them is loose. The passenger side is just loose there, so some clips missing, I suppose, on that one there. Now moving on to the items classified as engine bay. You can see the engine is partially disassembled, as in the rocker cover is off, fan cowling, some of that's taken off, and the pollen filter trays, because we're carrying out the valve clearances as part of the inspection process. Inspection 2s and inspection 1s, they need to have the valve clearances done, so that's what we'll be doing shortly. We've got the feeler gauges here with the BMW magnetic pickup tool to take any shims out that we find need replacing. So the radiator cowl fixing clip was incorrect. This one, it was in here, it wasn't a BMW one. We think it was what we call a Renault one, so that'll be replaced. We'll do that whilst we're here for you free of charge, no labour on that. We'll put the new clip in. Then the timing chain tensioner alongside the oil filter housing has shown early signs of leaking. So down here, this is the cylinder head, and down between this part and the thermostat housing, in there we can see signs of oil down at the bottom. Now it's very hard to get anything in there, especially the big style torch and camera systems that we're recording with, but if you wanted to have a look with a torch, you'll see that there's a bit of an oil leak. It's not really dripping out, it's just a mist or collection, so that's early signs that there's a sealing ring down there on the bolt that might need replacing in the future. Non-genuine air conditioning belt fitted. It's got a Micro V, whatever that one is, and also a Continental on the main alternator drive belt. Not really hurting it, and I wouldn't go and replace them for any immediate reason. It's just a note to say what we found on there. Also, 3 headlight fixing bolts are missing. We've got down in the gap just here, there is a bolt that should be down there to hold the lower part of the headlight in, which is not there. The same with this one down here, in that gap is missing. And lastly, the one which should be in that little platform there is also missing. So 3 headlight fixings needed to be replaced. A note to say the K&N air filter is fitted, which we'll retain. We'll blow out and clean for you. We won't replace that because obviously the K&N one is a better performance one. The pollen filter housing fixing, there's one of those missing, a speed clip and a bolt. So there's 4 clipping points across the bulkhead where the pollen filter tray screws into, and the middle right one was missing a bolt and a speed clip. The slam panel wiring loom fixing clips are broken, 5 of those. So there should be one, there it is, there clipped into that point, another one clipped into that point. I can just see it there hanging on the wiring loom. That's broken, and that one there is broken as well. They're very brittle, very flimsy, so they just need replacing for some new ones. They're not causing it any great harm at the moment, it's just to make the car back to an original finish. And lastly, the rocker cover spacer is missing, one of them. So before you take the rocker cover off, what spaces the plastic black M cover trim off of the rocker cover is an aluminium disc here and another aluminium disc back there, and one of those was missing. I'll see if we keep those in stock, and if we do, we'll supply one to you whilst we rebuild it. It might be a BMW order only though, and if so, we won't be able to do it today. It's not really harming it. What that does is it stops the nuts, the chrome nuts, being tightened too much to crush or crack the black plastic cover. So we'll be knowledgeable of that when we rebuild it, and make sure if we can't supply one that we won't tighten it too much. So that's the engine bay items completed, and now we'll have a look elsewhere on the vehicle. So now we're on the items classified as midway, when the car is halfway up in the air. So the offside front wheel arch liner fixings are missing. Well, it's got two fixings missing, one just there and another one up there. Also, the offside front brake disc backing plate is held on with a cable tie, where it's probably broken away from its mount, so it's cable tied on. The offside front shock absorber, which is non-genuine, has a dust cover missing. So up in this area here, you can see there's dust cover which is just split into many pieces. It should, and the other part of it is up the top. So it should be a big dust cover to stop dirt and this sort of corrosion and grit getting onto the piston, which then will tear the seals as it's going up and down in the shock absorber. The near side front shock absorber, again, which is non-genuine, I think these are HSDs, yes they are, I've just seen the logo, as a dust cover pinched by the spring. So this one's slightly different. All the dust cover is up the top and it's all pinched and sort of rippled and stuck up there. The near side front brake disc backing plate is upper bracket separated from the weld. So that's this item here. You can see the bracket is here and the plate is loose, so it looks like the rivets have failed in that area there, but it doesn't seem to be rattling just yet. The near side rear wheel arch liner is loose, so just go into the back of the car. The wheel arch liner here, there's just a 10mm bolt that needs fixing in, just to secure that one a bit tighter. The near side rear bumper slider clip is broken off. There's no fix in here. There should be an 8mm self-tapping screw which goes into a plastic part of the bumper slider bracket, which lives behind here and keeps the bumper upright. Those are very common to break off, so with being plastic that's brittle, so that just needs a new slider mount. I think they're about £15 from BMW behind there. The rear bumper exhaust trim, which is the diffuser, which is again a non-genuine one but a very nice one, carbon fibre, is adrift at the right hand side. And lastly, the offside rear wheel arch liner is adrift at the upper fixing. So it's missing a stud, well, but it's missing the plastic nut to hold that on. So now we're on to the underside items. Starting at the front of the car, we've got the front xenon level sensor bracket is incorrectly fitted, which is this item here. It's been fitted on the wrong side of this wishbone, so at the moment this is facing towards the front of the car over there, whereas this should be behind here in this area, and it does make a difference because that potentiometer, which is getting a movement from this lever arm, is now incorrectly. It's almost operating in sort of 180 degrees out almost. And also the front xenon level sensor arm is split, which is that black plastic there. You can see a split on the end of it. The offside front bumper corner trim is held on with cable ties and therefore damaged. So there's a cable tie here holding it on, and there's a section missing around here, protecting the washer bottle area. The engine under tray fixings, some of those were missing. There was only one holding it on in the centre just here. The outer two were missing. Also, don't worry about this, we're part way through the valve clearance process, which is why we've got the oil cooler dropped down from its radiator housing and suspended nicely, so there's no tension or weight on the cooler pipes. And this is a tool to turn the engine over so we can get it into each position correctly to measure the valve clearances. There's an oil leak from the constant pressure valve area, which can be seen a little bit through this area here. We can see some shiny oil reflecting coming down from what looks like the constant pressure valve area, which is in the engine block. The aluminium bracket fixing points for the engine under tray are snapped off, so it should be like this one here, and you see there's one missing there. That's quite common, we see that regularly. Same thing here, it's come in without the two front ones. The high pressure power steering pipe is leaking, which is seen by this oil leak on the power steering high pressure pipe, and also the low pressure power steering pipe union to cooler is leaking. So that's this area up here which is wet It's these two pipes, which are from the power steering system, going up to the cooler, which is in the front of the radiator, and there's a wetness to that joint over there. The power steering rack gaiters are held on with cable ties, which are here, which should be metal clamps. Incorrect exhaust downpipes fixings used should be copper 14mm nuts, and it's got some hex 17mm nuts. You can see they might have been over tightened maybe, because there's a crack in the downpipe just there as well. Central exhaust section nuts are corroded, which are seen here. These should be, again, 13mm hex nuts, but they're sort of round now. And you can see that there's some of the Lambda Probe wiring in the distance is rubbed through, where it may be once before resting on the exhaust, I'd assume. It's all clipped in correctly, but I guess at one point that had been burning, but it seems to be okay at the moment. The rear xenon level sensor arm is seized, which is this unit just here. Potentiometer, brackets, and the plastic arm, which is on a ball and socket system, top and bottom, so it should articulate in any way and therefore be vertical, but you can see it's got a big bend and kink in it. So due to the corrosion grab on the ball and socket joints in there, it's now just seized in one position. The rear brake pad sensor wire is not fitted in the brake pads. It's currently cable tied up and sat on top of the trailing arm, that green wire just up there. The rear anti-roll bar has corrosion, which can be seen just underneath the paint areas here. The fuel filler pipe is missing its fixing, which is this item here. Seems to have happened when some reinforcement plates have been welded on. Somebody's cut the stud off, and therefore that fuel filler neck, which is part of the fuel delivery system, is now loose and adrift. Also, the rear xenon level sensor wiring is incorrectly fitted and routed, so it should be coming around the left of that subframe bush and then fixed into that fixing hole up there and that one there, but at the moment it's just loose and dangling near the drive shaft. Then we've got the near side rear exhaust rubber hanger is split, which can be seen by that one just up there. There's a split in it. That one there is also bent out of shape for some reason. The incorrect fixings on the rear bumper trim. So there's some random ones, there's some black plastic ones, some non-genuine ones there, and a red one, which probably is better if it goes in the outside one maybe. The near side rear brake flexi pipe bracket is held on with cable ties, which is just here. This is the bracket for holding the brake pipe, which is also quite taut. If you look at this at the moment, that's not got a nice curve. It's quite being pulled quite tight out of the metal union. Again, these are non-genuine, possibly Goodrich. I'm going to take a guess looking at the fixings, I'm not sure, but yes, that should have a bolt in it, and at the moment it's cable tied, which is a little bit concerning. Might become an MOT advisory at some point, I'd say. Then we've got the exhaust for the heat shield on the near side front axle carrier bush has incorrect fixings. These ones here aren't correct. Not the end of the world if they're holding it on, which at the moment they seem to be. Metal brake pipe has corrosion at the bend area, so just at the rear, these two metal brake pipes have got corrosion noticed on the ends, so again that might be an MOT advisory at some stage. The front brake pad sensor wire is not fitted, much like the rear one, so it should be going into there, but obviously you've got a very nice brake kit, the BMW Performance calipers, the Brembo 6-pot monoblock calipers, but it's just cable tied up out of the way at the moment. The near side front tyre inner edge is bowed or wearing quite thin, so that might be down to an alignment issue possibly. The front anti-roll bar has corrosion, much like the rear ones. That seems to happen as the cars get a little bit older, the way they pivot in through these bush system. It seems to wear off the paint, and then obviously corrosion sets into the bare metal of that. And then lastly, the RACP has various spot welds failing in various areas. So it's had some reinforcement plates welded on around the 4 mounting points that we can see, but it hasn't addressed the failed spot welds, which are very typical on the RACP elsewhere. So this is the left hand side shock absorber here, that's the left hand side edge of the RACP, and there's a spot weld that's broken just there, another one that's there and got a crack in it, and there's also a broken spot weld with cracks in it on the what we call the roof section of the RACP. It's hard to see because it's been painted black, but just there in front of my finger is a circular item, which is a broken spot weld, and it does look like there's a crack coming out this way and another crack going out that way. That's in the RACP, which means the RACP is still moving and fatiguing regardless of the plates that have been put on, because arguably and unfortunately there's areas that have not been addressed during the RACP repair that this car has had. So there will be areas that you want to revisit in, well, sooner rather than later, to save that RACP from getting any worse. So that's the underside report finished, and that completes the comprehensive vehicle inspection. Hopefully it was of interest and it gives you a true understanding of the car's current condition. Do let us know if you've got any questions from our findings today, if we can help further. I just want to say thanks again to travelling to us at Reidish Motorsport for the Inspection 2 service. We appreciate you choosing us for this work, and we'll let you know once the car is ready for completion, ready for collection.